Hello guys, it's this time of the year again. Everything is gone, everything has changed, but everything is viable again. We are talking about the BNR. We are
In Response.
A legacy podcast. I'm Philipp Klein.
I am Daniel.
And I'm Peter Plank.
And we're talking about legacy.
And bannings.
You are listening to In Response, a legacy podcast. A show where three handsome guys talk about their favorite Magic the Gathering format, Legacy.
I'm Peter Plank, the artificer. I've got everything at hand in my Goblin Welders toolbox.
I am Daniel, the scientist. I ponder precisely about the next move that decides the fate of my opponents.
I'm Philipp Klein, the rogue. I use the graveyard to fuel opponents with agony.
And now, lean back and enjoy.
So guys,
for sure.
So guys, we are here together. It's Monday the 16th of December 2024 and something is gone from the format. We're talking about bannings. We have two cards that were expected by a huge part of the community. We have Psychic Frog and Waxing Bauble gone from the format. So very briefly from you two guys, what are your initial thoughts and initial thinkings? Are you satisfied with the bannings?
I would say I'm not surprised. First of all, was my immediate impression. I was not surprised that I saw both Psychic Frog and Bobble. Maybe I was a little bit surprised that they took like the Banhammer on the Bobble because it just recently showed, I think this was only a couple of tournaments back in the days where it was being good. But Frog was kind of expected. So overall, not surprised. So, as expected, at least from my side.
Yeah. What about you?
I can say, it's the least that they could do. In my opinion, it's always the same. Legacy is like they're doing just that, like how's it called? If you're doing just the least amount of work that's needed for something to work, like minimum effort, yeah, and that's the way they handle legacy. I would have hoped for more bans or unbannings, something that really shakes up our beloved format, and that's really a lot going on, a wild west out there. But yeah, I think banning Psychic Frog is the least that they could have done to keep the format at least somewhat interesting and somewhat stable. I'm here with you, Daniel. Waxing Bobble was also kind of a surprise. I mean, it was a card I truly hoped for that it get banned, but really for them to pull the trigger on Waxing Bobble also was really, a nice thing to have also, yeah.
Yeah, if we want to talk about Wild West, we are in the wrong format. We are not modern here, where we had like a really interesting ban and restricted phase. But yeah, there are some talks about like different cards also in the announcement for Legacy, and I think it's good to go over it to talk about the things that could have also changed. They talked for additional cards when they discussed in banning Psychic Frogs to reduce specifically Demir Reanimator. They talked about banning Entomb and or Reanimate, so both of the cards are kinda on a heat and on a watch list, but they have believed that it wouldn't have resolved the core issue of Demir Reanimator having like a solid fair game plan. And I think you have to go a little bit further. Both of those cards, and I mean, I get banning Reanimate, but I think the core card here would have been Entomb, is like to reduce especially the unfair part of the deck. What are your thoughts about this? Let's start with Philipp here.
Oh my god, banning Entomb or Reanimate would have been really, really, not good for the format as a whole. It would have killed a whole archetype. I mean, we have seen this. It wouldn't be the first time that they just killed off an archetype. Back in the days when they banned Sensei's Divining Top, it took so many decks with them. At least for the next 2 to 3 years, they were simply unplayable. Let's look back at Painter. Painter in the was right after bannings of Sensei's Divining Top wasn't playable anymore, and it took a long time for Painter to catch up again. And therefore, I think Entomb Reanimate ban would simply be the wrong choice. For me, it's always about keeping the format as diverse as possible. There should be the most amount of playable, viable decks available. And therefore, banning Entomb or banning Reanimate would just result in less diversity. And also, we have seen blue-black tempo really packing a punch. Was a very, very strong deck, and could go toe-to-toe with blue-black Reanimator. And that's all without Entomb or Reanimate or Atraxa or the whole reanimation package.
What are your thoughts, Daniel? For Entomb or Reanimate?
I think I agree with the statement of Phil, what you said regarding the archetype being an important part of Legacy. I would also, in that case, think we want to have this in our format overall as playable deck. And I think if Wizards would decide to ban either Entomb or Reanimate, it would go a little bit against their current strategy, what they are conveying with their banning decision of the last couple of years, which is they focus more on the payoffs and not really on the enablers. And those cards are also more like encapsulated in the format as staples, as kind of format identity cards, similar to Ponder and Brainstorm. I think it comes down to philosophy and how you would see banning or, let's say, maintaining a format you want to have. I could see that you go after the enablers as well, like if it was not a community loved thing. And I think this is actually similar for some not so much maybe for Entomb and Reanimate, but obviously it's pretty big for Ponder and Brainstorm. But I think it's similar, it falls into the same category. And people want to have their favorite cards, the Legacy-like cards. And if Legacy was a new format today, established, those cards would be banned. This is what Wizards I think long admitted also. Same as Force, Ponder, and so on, and Brainstorm. But so they have this philosophy now, and I agree with that. You should stick to a solid and consistent way of handling a format, which is the case here.
Yeah, we have we have a kind of comparison in Modern. In this case, there is, in my opinion, a little bit of a different design philosophy, and there is like Pod. Pod is the card that generates value with creatures, and especially here it's said Pod was banned because it makes the design space on creatures worse, because like every big creature breaks basically Pod, so Pod is being banned. And we have to see if it has to be adopted within Entomb and Legacy. This is my opinion. But I think we go over to the next card, which is a design mistake, but we are happy to have it currently in the format. Let's see how long it is. The next card on the heat on the watch list is Nadu Winged Wisdom, and I will read off the short statement from Wizards of the Coast here. They said with Psychic Frog and Vexing Bauble removed, several top decks will need to change. And the recent success of Nado variants, Cephalid Breakfast and Banned Greens and Zenith decks has us kept a close eye on Nado Winged Business. For now, they believe the changes are enough to make the format more diverse and healthy. But this is definitely a call for future action if Nado stays above the top of the format. So do you guys agree here?
Well,
Let's start with Daniel.
If I would personally had the decision to take action, what is doing right now, I would fully agree with what Wizards is doing. Even though Nado won now Eternal Weekend of Prague just recently, and it is a pretty strong archetype at the beginning, I think the reason why is actually because it was part of a very strong combo deck that just punches through the meta that is dominated by Reanimator and Frog decks in general. I think the power of Nado really depends on the rest of the format and the other decks that are viable. Because Nado is a 3-drop. And yeah, I would be very hesitant to just ban it right now. But I can also agree and see why they are keeping a close eye on it in the near future for that. So, yeah.
Philipp, any response for the Simic Legend?
Yeah, as we all know, I am a proud fan of all the Simic legends like Oko and also Nado Winged Wisdom. But but for real, I think Wizards really missed the call here. Nado should have been also on this banning right now, not because of power level reasons, but more so because of timing issues in tournaments. Like we had in Eternal Weekend, there were mostly Nado players going into rounds, because at high stakes level tournament, people are always have to play the combo out, and this just takes a lot of time. If Sensor's Divining Top has to get the X for being a very, very slow card, Nado has to take it also. I think for parallel reasons, Nado would have been fine in Legacy. It's not that oppressive and you can battle it. Like Daniel said, it's a free drop. I mean, you have to resolve it. It's kind of okay. But just because of the timing issues that Nado has, I think we're in for a bird winter or something like that.
Yeah.
So before jumping into those conclusions, I want to just add here, maybe we can do the 4 horsemen treatment to Nado decks, but the treatment that you guys all want to have is to be our Patreons. So thank you for our Patreons, Moritz Eichmeier, Matt Dunking and Christian Neutz. For anyone that does not have any money to spend, you can follow us on basically every social media platform and TikTok. It's response_legacy over basically everywhere. But don't forget, like and subscribe and buy our merch. But now to jump into the next segments. With as we said, cards are gone, and we said in the beginning, whenever there is basically a banned and restricted announcement, everyone thinks they basically break the meta, they have the new standard decks. But what happens actually, there are a lot of effects on the meta, cascading effects on the meta. So basically, what are your predictions for the format? Let's start with Daniel here.
So there's a lot of things you could discuss, I think. But when I think of the current metagame and the current top decks that are being at the top, there are, for me, 2 decks that stand out that are clear winners of this banned and restricted announcement. On the one hand, we have all the Nado decks. That is obvious, I think. We just discussed Nado being even on the watch list now. And yeah, we'll see how Nado performs in the next couple of tournaments. If it's too strong or it can be hated out by, I don't know, more removal. We don't know the impact of Bowmasters, which I think is also overall a big winner as a single card. But the second deck that I want to mention here is Eldrazi. I think Eldrazi is one of the biggest winners. It got no hit. It didn't play Vaccine Bubble. It played Chalice in the first place. And Kozilek's Command and Mycospawn was on people's minds before going into this ban and restricted announcement anyways. So I would expect that Eldrazi is one of the top decks right now in the next couple of weeks to beat. Yeah. I think overall, Bowmasters, we'll see how Bowmasters performs. I don't know about the rest.
So, Philipp, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, these are hot takes right now. I mean, it's awesome basically because a whole color is again unbanned. Lightning Bolt Red is back. So, Psychic Frog dodging Lightning Bolt was one of the biggest mistakes that WotC had done with regarding of Psychic Frog, and just that Red is able to be played again is maybe the savior of the format. Then I talked about Eldrazi being the biggest player right now, but I don't think so, because Eldrazi plays a lot of non-basics. And you know what's also a big red card that always gets played in Tempo Shells? Price of Progress. And Price of Progress simply eliminates Eldrazi. They are getting damage from Ancient Tombs, they are getting damage here and there, and then just shoot them up with a big, nice Price of Progress. Also, there are actually ways to battle Eldrazi's. Sure, they might have a huge Eldrazi spawn army, but you know what deals them damage in their face? Rakdos Charm. Maybe this kind of very niche card can come in handy against Eldrazi. I mean, these are things to just get your opponent. But yeah, overall, go ahead, Peter.
I have to take over. Philipp, you're missing one crucial opinion when you talk about Rakdos Charm and Eldrazi. Sign tokens have a neat ability to sack themselves for one colorless mana.
Well, I didn't thought about that. But yeah, still Price of Progress is the big winner here. And also, Glaring Fleshraker dies to a bolt. This is also something that hasn't happened since the printing of Psychic Frog, because Bolt was soft banned. And I think we will see a lot of Grixis Delver again. Grixis Delver will be the new top dog in the meta, alongside Eldrazi, Mono Red, and all these decks. Mystic Forge will fall a lot, in my opinion, because you can now safely counter the payoffs. I'm pretty excited for these bans, to be honest.
Yeah, it will be definitely going into Wild West. We have a lot of cards that feel to be able to be played. For example, I feel like Painter has to really think about its identity. Main deck Pyroblast's value goes down significantly. I personally think it's time to go once again back to definitely playing white for Swords to Plowshares, because now the best threats are not blue anymore, so it will be a really interesting period moving forward. But to talk about moving forward more, we will talk about this in our next episode, but for now we conclude here. So guys, you can follow us on social media. It's everywhere, basically response_legacy. But in detail, where can we follow you two guys? Philipp, where can we follow you?
You can find me on Twitter. It's at PhinekMTG, PHINEKMTG. Daniel, where can we find you?
It is on Twitter. It is at Flying Delvedere. And Peter?
And you can also follow me on Twitter. It's at Unicorn Lord, but the O in the Lord is a 0. And with this, in response, the end.
This was In Response, a Legacy podcast. If you enjoyed the ride, feel free to support the show by following, leaving a review, or subscribe on patreon.com/response_legacy.